In the previous part, the story unfolded in a luxurious mansion where secrets and hidden desires disrupted the lives of its residents. Ola and Jide, both married to Chief Amara, found themselves drawn to Kola, a member of the household staff, leading to moments of passion and complex emotions. As they discovered their unexpected pregnancies, their rivalry for Kola's affection intensified, while the looming threat of Chief Amara uncovering their secrets added to the tension. With emotions running high, their choices set the stage for inevitable conflicts and life altering consequences that could unravel everything. Stay tuned to see how the story unfolds with even more drama and unexpected twists ahead. The idea of sharing him with Ola felt unbearable. He set his glass on the counter and closed his eyes, his mind racing with plans. His eyes thinking of a plan soon after Jeed slipped away to find Kola. He found him in a small corridor, polishing a metal handle for a cabinet. The faint sound of soft footsteps echoed in the hallway, amplifying the tension in the air. He walked up quietly, noticing the way Kola's hands moved deftly over the surface. Kola, he said, folding his arms across his chest. I hear you've been helping Ola with a window in his room. Is that correct? Kola froze for a moment, then turned to face him. Yes, sir. He asked me to fix it. He avoided Jeed's piercing gaze, his hand tightening around the cloth he was using. Jeed studied his face. He saw a flicker of worry in his eyes. The silence between them seemed to stretch heavy with unspoken thoughts. I also need your help. Can you come to my sitting room? There's something I want you to move. Kola nodded. Yes, sir. Without another word, Jeed led him to his private sitting room. It was a cozy space with a sofa, a small table, and tall windows that let in the dim afternoon light. The faint aroma of cologne lingered in the air. Once inside, he closed the door softly, the click of the latch unnervingly loud in the quiet room. Kola looked around, noticing no heavy boxes or furniture to move. What did you need me to move, sir? He asked, setting his cloth aside on the small table. Jeed's eyes softened, but his stance remained firm. He stepped closer, his tone quiet. There is no furniture to move. I just wanted to speak with you. Kola swallowed hard. Oh, right, sir. Jeed took a deep breath. Should I tell him about the baby? He wondered. Part of him was scared. Another part of him felt a burning desire to keep Kola close. He chose his words carefully. Kola, I know I'm asking a lot from you, he said, looking into his eyes, but I want to make sure we understand each other. The time we spent together, it meant a lot to me. I don't want Ola getting between us. Kola looked away, guilt tugging at his chest. Sir, I never meant to cause trouble, he said softly. I'm just doing my job. Jeet felt tears sting his eyes, but he held them back. I'm not blaming you, he whispered. I want you to be careful. If we get caught, it will be bad for both of us. And I don't want Ola stealing your attention. Kola ran a hand over his hair. I understand, sir. Jeet reached out and held his hand. He could feel his heart beating in his throat. He leaned closer, pressing his forehead against his. In that moment, all his anger and fear mingled. He felt the need to secure Kola's loyalty, to make sure he wouldn't be swayed by Ola's charms. Without warning, a knock sounded at the door. Both of them sprang apart. The door opened just a crack, and Bay's voice drifted in. Sir, I'm sorry to disturb you, but Ola is asking for you in the main living room. He says it's urgent. Jeet gave Kola one last look, then cleared his throat. Yes, I'll be right there, he said. He straightened his shirt, and Kola quickly grabbed his polishing cloth. They both tried to appear normal as he opened the door. Bay pretended not to notice anything and walked away, leaving Jeed and Kola behind. Jeed hurried to the living room, his nerves on edge. He found Ola standing by the sofa, arms folded, his expression unreadable. What is it? Jeed asked sharply, keeping his voice low. Ola forced a quick smile. Chief Amara called. She said she wants us to prepare for a guest tonight. Some business partner will be staying for dinner. Jeet exhaled, relieved it wasn't something more serious. All right, I'll speak with the cook. Ola stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. I notice you've been busy lately, Jide, always giving the staff extra instructions. Is there anything you'd like to share with me? Jeed's stomach twisted, but he kept a calm face. I am simply taking care of the house. You could do the same. Ola smiled sweetly, though his eyes were cold. Of course, of course. I'll make sure everything runs smoothly. Then he leaned in, his voice dropping. I'd keep an eye on Kola if I were you. We wouldn't want him to be distracted, would we? Jeed's heart raced. He realized that Ola was hinting at something, maybe suspecting a closeness with Kola. But Jeed refused to show fear. Instead, he shrugged. Kola knows his duties. Ola stepped back, a smug smile on his lips. Yes, he does. Excuse me now. He brushed past Jeed and left the room. Alone, Jeed clenched his fists. This was no longer just a simple attraction. Now it was a power struggle between two pregnant husbands, each determined to keep Kola for himself. And with Chief Amara in the dark, the secrets kept growing deeper. Neither Jide nor Ola knew how close they were to being found out. Their daily games of spying and manipulation were about to spiral out of control. But for now, both husbands focused on their next moves, determined to win Kola's loyalty, whatever the cost. They told themselves they could handle the secrets, but the truth was tightening around them like a rope, and soon it would snap. Early the next morning, the whole mansion buzzed with tension. Jeed and Ola barely spoke to each other, and both of them kept a watchful eye on Kola. Whenever he walked by, Jide would try to chat with him, and Ola would find a reason to call him away. It felt like a tug of war, and Kola was the rope. Chief Amara noticed something was wrong. After breakfast, she cornered one of the housemaids. Why is the house so quiet? She asked, her voice low. It feels like everyone is hiding something. The maid shrugged nervously. Chief, I'm not sure, she stammered. Maybe the staff are just tired. She dared not say more, fearing trouble. Chief Amara didn't believe her, but she let it go and headed to her study. Still, her instincts told her there was a secret in her own home. Meanwhile, Ola stood in his bedroom, pacing. He was sure he could no longer hide his pregnancy for much longer. His shirts felt tighter around his waist. He rubbed his belly, thinking, I need to make sure Kola is on my side before anyone finds out about the baby. He decided that the best way was to confront Kola and secure his promise. So he hurried downstairs, looking for a moment when Jeed was not around. He saw Kola alone near the garden door, carrying a stack of papers. Kola, he whispered, motioning for him to follow him outside. They slipped into a quiet corner of the garden, out of view. "What is it, sir?" he asked, setting the papers aside. Ola's heart beat quickly. He placed a hand on his arm. "Kola, I have something very important to tell you," he began, his voice shaking. I'm I'm going to have a baby." He paused, watching his face closely. He blinked, confused. "A baby," he echoed. He nodded, tears gathering in his eyes. "Yes, it's yours. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it did. Now I need you to promise you won't abandon me." Kola looked stunned. He stared at the ground, mind racing. "Sir, He trailed off. He felt a rush of emotions, fear, guilt, and a hint of excitement. But mostly he was scared. What if Chief Amara finds out? He thought, this could ruin all of us. Ola grabbed his hands. "Tell me you'll stand by me," he pleaded. "I can't face this alone." Before Kola could speak, they heard footsteps. Someone was coming their way. Quickly, Ola and Kola moved apart, trying to act normal. Jide rounded the corner. He froze when he saw them together. "What's going on?" Jide asked, his eyes darting between them. Ola cleared his throat. "Nothing," he said quickly, tossing his hair back. "Kola was just showing me some papers for the garden." He gave Jide a bright fake smile and hurried inside. Kola fidgeted nervously, then followed Ola, leaving Jide. Standing there, Jide felt his blood run cold. He knew Ola was lying. He remembered how Ola had warned him about keeping an eye on Kola. Now he suspected that Ola must be planning something big. "I won't let him win," Jide told himself. Without wasting time, Jide found a moment to call Kola into a small storage room. He shut the door, leaving them in dim light. Kola stood there looking worried. "Kola," he said, his voice trembling, "we need to talk." "I'm pregnant. It's your child." His words came out shaky, but determined. Kola stared at him, stunned. "Jide, He couldn't finish the sentence. He felt like the room was spinning. "Yes, I am," Jide confirmed, tears in his eyes. "We have to be careful. If Chief Amara discovers this, we could lose everything. But I need to know you won't betray me." Kola pressed a hand to his forehead, heart pounding. He had just heard the same news from Ola. Both husbands were carrying his children. He felt trapped in the biggest secret of his life. Before he could respond, the storage room door swung open. Chief Amara stood there glaring at them. She had followed quietly, noticing how Ola and Kola disappeared. Now she found them together, the air thick with tension. "What is going on here?" Chief Amara demanded, her voice echoing in the small space. "Why are you two alone in the dark?" Her eyes blazed with anger and suspicion. Ola swallowed hard. "Chief, I was just asking Kola to fix something," he lied, backing away from Kola. Chief Amara stepped forward. "Don't lie to me," she roared. "I've sensed something strange between you, and now I find you together in this hidden place. Explain yourselves." Neither Ola nor Kola could speak. They both stared at her, hearts pounding. Then, behind Chief Amara, Jide appeared in the doorway. His eyes darted around the cramped room, taking in the frightened faces. Chief Jide began softly. "Ola and Kola might have some explaining to do." He paused, his expression serious. You need to know the truth. Ola's lips trembled. Jeet, don't. He tried to stop him, but it was too late. Jeet pointed at Ola, then at Kola. Chief, he's been close to Kola in ways you wouldn't approve. He said bitterly, I've caught them whispering at odd hours. I suspect, I suspect, I suspect, I suspect he's pregnant and Kola might be involved. Ola gasped in shock. You snake, he spat at Jeet. Why are you lying? Chief Amara held up a hand. Enough, she thundered. She turned to Ola. Is this true? Are you pregnant? And is this man involved? Her eyes flicked to Kola, rage burning there. Ola froze, tears streaming down his cheeks. He wanted to speak, but fear locked his mouth. Kola felt sweat bead on his forehead, and his legs felt weak. He knew if he told the truth, it would destroy everything. If he lied, it might be even worse later. Suddenly, Jeet stepped in again, his voice shaking. Chief, you must also know, I'm pregnant too, and Kola is the father of my child. Everyone stared at him in shock. Ola's face turned pale. Chief Amara looked like she couldn't breathe. Her eyes flicked between her husband's, struggling to understand the words that had just left Jaid's mouth. The air in the room was thick. The faint smell of roses from a nearby vase mixing with the tension that clung to every surface. Ola found his voice. You see? He's just as guilty. It's not only me. Chief Amara slammed her fist against the wall, making them all jump. Both of you pregnant by him, she roared, pointing at Kola. Have you all gone mad in my house? How dare you betray me like this? She whirled around, glaring at Kola. How dare you touch my husbands? Kola had no words to defend himself. His tongue felt tied and his thoughts spun. In one moment, every secret was laid bare. Jeet's eyes were wet with tears, but also shone with defiance. Ola sobbed, clinging to the wall for support. Chief Amara clenched her jaw, her face red with fury. I can't believe this, she growled. You will all pay for this betrayal. She looked ready to explode, her fists clenched at her sides. The small space felt like it was closing in the dim light from the single bulb overhead, casting jagged shadows on their faces. In the silence that followed, heavy with tension, only the sound of rapid breathing filled the air. Everyone stood frozen, hearts pounding, eyes wide. No one knew what Chief Amara would do next. Would she kick them all out? Would she call the police? Would she harm Kola? Finally, Chief Amara spun on her heel and stormed off, leaving the others behind. Jeet and Ola stared after her, tears streaming down their cheeks, each clutching his belly. Kola leaned against the wall, feeling the whole world crashing down. No one said a word. They just looked at each other, realizing they had reached the boiling point. The truth was out, and the consequences would be huge. Now all that remained was the question of what Chief Amara would do and how their lives would change forever. Outside, lightning flashed in the gray sky, and thunder rumbled in the distance. It felt like a warning of the storm to come. The wind howled, rattling the windows as though echoing the chaos inside. In that charged moment, the mansion's walls seemed ready to shatter from the secrets within. And so the three stood there, trembling, waiting for the next blow to fall. A tense hush filled the house right after Chief Amara's angry footsteps disappeared down the hallway. Ola, Jeed, and Kola stayed in the small storage room, too afraid to follow her. They could still hear the echo of her rage. It was clear that their secret was now out in the open. Finally, Kola spoke, his voice trembling. "We should go to her," he said. "She's too angry. If we let her brood alone, it might get worse." Ola swallowed hard. "She will not want to see me right now," he whispered, wiping tears from his cheeks. "She might send me away forever." Jeed wrapped his arms around his belly. He felt the baby inside him flutter with nervous energy. "I can't lose everything," he said in a shaky voice. "Chief Amara might punish us in a way we cannot handle." Kola took a slow breath. He thought about how he had no power in this house. Chief Amara was the boss. Whatever Chief Amara chose to do, whether it was firing him or worse, Kola had to face it. "I'll talk to her," he said quietly. "Maybe I can calm her down." Ola gently touched his arm. "Be careful," he said, his eyes filled with worry. "She feels betrayed. She might not listen." Jeed nodded in agreement. "This is not just about a small mistake. We are both pregnant by you, Kola. That's a huge blow to her pride." Kola's face went pale. He understood. Still, he felt it was his duty to face Chief Amara. He turned to leave his footsteps echoing in the hallway. He found Chief Amara in the large living room, standing by the tall windows. The older woman's shoulders were tense. Her hands were clenched into fists at her sides. Outside, rain began to fall, streaking the glass with silver lines. Kola swallowed, heart pounding. Slowly he approached, trying not to startle her. "Chief," Kola said, voice slow, "I'm here to speak with you." Chief Amara spun around, eyes burning with fury. "How dare you speak to me?" she snarled. "You have slept with my husbands, both of them." Kola bowed his head. "Chief, I didn't plan this," he said, words tumbling out. "I never meant to betray you. I'm so sorry." Chief Amara took a step forward, pointing a shaky finger at Kola. "You are sorry. Do you know what you've done? You have ruined my household. You have made a fool of me in my own home." Kola dared not raise his eyes. "I take full blame," he said softly. "Punish me if you want, but please don't harm the children." Chief Amara's lips curled into a bitter sneer. "The children," she repeated, voice full of sarcasm. "Those children are my shame, my disgrace." She grabbed a vase from a nearby table and threw it across the room. The crash made Kola jump. Chief Amara pressed a hand to her forehead, breathing hard. "Leave me alone," she roared. "Get out of my sight before I do something you'll regret." Kola hesitated for a moment, but then backed away. He walked out of the living room, heart pounding so loudly he could hardly think. When he returned to the storage room, Jeed and Ola were still huddled there. Their eyes darted to the doorway the moment he walked in. "What happened?" Ola asked, stepping closer. "Did she say anything? Is she calmer?" Kola shook his head, his face grim. "She's furious," he said. "I tried to speak, but she doesn't want to listen. She told me to leave her alone." Jeed sucked in a shaky breath. Maybe we should all leave, he muttered, his voice quivering. What if she calls the police or does something worse? We're not safe here. Ola glanced at Jeed with a pained expression. Where would we go? He asked, tears glistening in his eyes. This is our home, and we're both expecting babies. We have no other place. Jeed lowered his gaze. He realized Ola was right. Chief Amara controlled most of their money. If they left, they would have nothing. I don't know, Jeed whispered, hugging his belly. Kola rubbed his temple, trying to think. Let's just stay calm. Meanwhile, Chief Amara stormed through the hallways. The staff scattered out of her path like frightened birds. She marched up to her study and locked the door. Inside, she picked up her phone and made a few angry calls, but each time she tried to speak, her rage got the better of her, and she ended the call. She felt too humiliated to talk to anyone about this. All she could think of was how her husbands had betrayed her with the Gateman. Hours passed, and the sun began to set. The mansion felt heavier than ever. A gloomy silence clung to every room, and no one dared disturb Chief Amara. Ola and Jeed kept to their own rooms, worried that Chief Amara might throw them out if she saw them. Kola hovered near the back of the house, ready to leave if things got worse. Finally, at nightfall, Chief Amara emerged from her study. She ordered the staff to gather in the large living room. Everyone arrived, hearts pounding, each person fearing for their job. Kola stood at the back, lowering his head. Ola and Jeed stayed to one side, trembling. Chief Amara's eyes were red, her face drawn from hours of anger. I want every single one of you to know, she began in a booming voice, that I have been betrayed. My husbands, whom I trusted, have broken that trust by carrying the children of this man. She pointed at Kola, who froze. The staff gasped, eyes widening in shock. Some had suspected something was going on, but hearing it stated out loud like this was still shocking. Chief Amara continued, voice trembling with rage. Ola, Jeed, stepped forward, she demanded. The two husbands moved closer, trying not to faint from fear. Is it true you carry Kola's children? Neither husband could speak. They simply nodded, tears streaming down their faces. The staff looked on, uncertain what to do or say. Chief Amara's nostrils flared. Very well, she said, forcing an odd calm into her voice. You want these children? Fine. Then live with the shame you have created. She turned to Kola. And you? I could destroy you right now, but instead I will give you one chance. Kola's heart hammered. He wanted to speak, but the words stuck in his throat. Chief Amara's eyes flickered with dark anger. You can stay here if you wish, or you can leave. But if you stay, I will not welcome you as a friend. You are nothing more than a worker, and I want no talk of these children being mine. Do you understand? Ola and Jeed both cried out, Chief, please. Jeed began the babies. She cut him off. The babies will be raised in this house, if you choose to remain, she growled. But they will never be my heirs. I do this only to avoid scandal. If any of you breathe a word of this outside these walls, I will ruin you all. A frightened hush fell over the room. The staff looked down, not daring to speak. Kola felt dizzy, like he was caught in a nightmare. She wants me to stay, but how can we live like this? Ola and Jeed exchanged panicked looks, tears streaming down their cheeks. They wanted to protect their children, but the cost would be living under Chief Amara's blazing anger every day. They saw little choice. Without Chief Amara, they had no money, no home, and no safety. With a shaking voice, Ola finally whispered, "We will stay, Chief." Jeed nodded, wiping his eyes. "Yes," he said, "we have nowhere else to go." Kola stood, rooted to the spot, mind spinning. He felt responsible for both men and their babies, yet Chief Amara's threat hung over him like a dark cloud. "I'll remain chief," he murmured, lowering his gaze. Chief Amara let out a cold laugh, then gestured to the staff. "Go back to your tasks," she ordered. "No one speaks of this again." Slowly, the staff broke away, whispering to each other in hushed tones. Ola and Jeet held each other's hands, sorrow filling their hearts. Kola stared at the polished floor, feeling trapped. As the night wore on, the house felt like a prison. Chief Amara retreated to her room, slamming the door behind her. Ola and Jeed returned to their bedrooms, each hugging his belly and wondering how this strange arrangement would last. Kola went to the small gatehouse, sitting on his bed in the darkness. Lightning flashed outside, and thunder rolled across the sky. In that moment, every soul in the mansion felt the weight of what had just happened. Their lives were changed forever by this secret, now half exposed yet tightly controlled by Chief Amara's power. No one dared guess what new storms might come tomorrow. And so they each settled into a night of uneasy sleep, hearts pounding with fear and uncertainty. The question lingered in the shadows: would they find a way to live together under Chief Amara's wrath, or would everything collapse in even greater chaos? Only time would tell. And in that silence, as rain began to pour down on the mansion's roof, it was clear that this was not the end. It was just the beginning of a new, darker chapter in their tangled lives, a chapter where every day brought new risks, new secrets, and new heartbreaks waiting to unfold. In life, secrets and betrayals hold the power to unravel even the strongest of bonds. They create a ripple effect of pain and distrust, impacting not only those directly involved, but also everyone around them. This story serves as a powerful reminder to cherish trust, communicate openly, and respect boundaries in our relationships. By embracing honesty and mutual respect, we can build connections that stand the test of time. Thank you for watching my channel, and I hope this message inspires you to nurture the relationships that matter most. Once upon a time, in a small, beautiful town, there lived a young woman named Amma, but popularly called Mama Kia. Mama Kia had carried her baby in her belly longer than anyone had ever seen, 12 full moons, and still no cry of a child. The villagers shook their heads in wonder. "This is not normal," they whispered. "Even elephants don't wait that long." Then, one bright morning, the sun danced on the rooftops, and Amma screamed her labor had begun. People dropped their farming tools and cooking pots, rushing to her small hut. The air buzzed with excitement and fear. Inside the hut, the midwife worked hard, her hands trembling as sweat dripped from her forehead. The baby was coming, but something felt different, something strange. The villagers stood outside, their hearts pounding like the drums at the village square. Finally, the door creaked open and the midwife stepped out. Her face was pale, as if she had seen a spirit. Her voice shook as she whispered, "It's a girl, but she has two heads." The crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths, others their eyes. "Two heads! What kind of child is this?" they murmured. Curiosity burned in their hearts, and they pushed closer to the hut. When the baby was brought out, the crowd froze. One head was fair, like the golden sand by the river. The other was dark, like the shadow under the tall owa tree. The people stared, their mouths open. Some shook their heads, muttering, "This is not a child, this is a curse." Others smiled and said, "No, this is a blessing. Two heads must mean double wisdom." Amma looked at her baby, her eyes soft with love. She didn't care about curses or blessings. "My child is special," she said, holding the baby close. The villagers argued as they stood outside her hut. "What do we call this? Twins or one child?" someone asked. But before anyone could answer, an elder with a long white beard raised his hand. "Let the heads have names," he said. "The fair one shall be called Leah, for peace. The dark one shall be called Dea, for strength." And so the baby with two heads was named Leah and Dea and Dea. The villagers returned to their homes, whispering stories of what they had seen. Some said the baby was a gift from the gods. Others believed Mama Kia must have done something wrong to bring such a strange child into the world. Leah and Dea grew fast, like yam vines after the first rain. Amma would shake her head, laughing. These two heads share one stomach. They cry together, eat together, and even sleep at the same time. As they grew older, Leah and Dea amazed everyone in the village. They didn't just walk early, they ran. They didn't just talk, they spoke in ways that made people stop and listen. By the time they started school, it was clear they were different in more ways than one. In the classroom, they always knew the answers. "No wonder they're the best in class, they have two heads." The other children would laugh. The teacher was proud, saying Leah and Dea are a blessing to this village. They will make us proud someday. But little did they know, even two heads don't always think the same way. Leah loved rice the way the grains smelled when they were cooked just right. Dea, on the other hand, craved beans, especially with spicy stew. At the dining table, they would argue like in a fight. "Rice is better," Leah would insist, her fair head turning slightly. "No, beans are better," Dea would argue back, her dark head shaking. Amma would laugh and say, "You two, settle down. Rice today, beans tomorrow." It wasn't just food. They liked different colors too. Leah's eyes lit up when she saw a bright yellow dress. "This one is perfect," she'd say, but Dea's lips would twist in disagreement. "No, the red one is better," she'd argue. The villagers loved them, watching in amazement as they played and studied. "Two heads, one body," they would say. Even if they fight, they have no choice but to get along. The sisters grew stronger each day, their bond like the roots of a baobab tree, impossible to break. Though they were different, they were always together, and the village grew used to their unique ways. As Leah and Dea grew into beautiful young women, their laughter softened, their steps became graceful, and their eyes shone with wisdom. The villagers marveled at how they had blossomed. But when it came to marriage, the men hesitated. "How can you marry two heads? they whispered among themselves. It's like having two wives in one body. The sisters heard the whispers, but kept their heads high. Amma consoled them, saying, "The right man will come. Be patient, my daughters." Finally, three men showed interest in marrying them, one after the other, but that's when the real trouble began, because none of the men could please them. First came Adam. He was tall, bold, and as confident as the roaring river after a storm. His laughter was loud, his voice deep, and his presence filled every room he entered. Dea's dark eyes sparkled the first time she saw him. "He's the one," Dea whispered. "He's strong, handsome, and fearless." But Leia wasn't convinced. "He's too loud," she said, frowning. Dea wouldn't hear it. "Give him a chance. He's perfect for us," she insisted, her excitement as bright as a midday sun. Reluctantly, Leia agreed. Adam courted them with gifts of sweet palm wine and stories of his bravery. Dea's heart grew fonder with each visit, while Leia watched him with weary eyes. The wedding was grand, with drummers, dancers, and a full spread across the village square. The elders blessed the union, and the villagers cheered. Amma smiled through her tears, saying, "May this marriage bring joy to my daughters." At first, everything seemed fine. Adam's boldness made Dea laugh, and his boldness made Dea laugh, and his strength made her feel safe. But Leia couldn't stand him. She found his voice too loud, his laughter too sharp. "He doesn't care about what I want," Leia complained. "He's always listening to Dea." Adam tried his best to please them both. But no matter what he did, Leia wasn't happy. She argued with him at every turn. "I can't live like this," Leia finally said one night. "I don't like him, Dea. Why should I be stuck with someone I don't want?" The fights grew louder, like a storm that wouldn't end. Aiden grew weary. "How can I please both of you at the same time?" he shouted one evening. After just a year, the marriage crumbled like a clay pot dropped from a height. Adam walked away, his head bowed in defeat. The villagers shook their heads in disappointment. "We knew this would happen," they said. "Two heads, one body, it's a curse." But Leia and Dea didn't listen. They returned to their mother's home, their hearts heavy but determined. Dea whispered to Leia, "Maybe the next man will be better." And with that hope, they waited. Not long after Adan left, another suitor stepped forward. His name was Nalo. Unlike Adan, Nalo was calm, with a voice as soft as the morning breeze and a heart as kind as the gentle rain. Leia's fair face lit up the first time she saw him. "He's perfect," she said, her voice soft with admiration. "He listens. He understands. He's nothing like Aiden." But Dea wasn't convinced. "He's too quiet," she said, frowning. "How can a man so silent protect us? He's boring." Leia wouldn't hear any complaints. "We need peace, Dea," she insisted. "Nalo will bring us that." With Leia leading the way, they agreed to marry Nalo. The wedding was smaller this time, quieter, just like Nalo himself. Amma blessed them with a cautious smile, hoping this union would last. At first, everything seemed perfect. Nalo brought calmness to their lives. He spoke softly, cooked meals with them, and even helped with little chores around the house. Leia blossomed in his care. She would laugh softly and say, "Nalo makes me feel whole." But Dea felt left out. Nalo's gentleness didn't touch her the same way. "He doesn't even talk to me," Dea complained to Leia. One quiet evening, as they sat by the dimly lit fire in their small home, "He only cares about you. You're imagining things," Leia replied, brushing her off as she poked at the embers with a stick. "Nalo is kind to both of us." But Daya's unhappiness grew.